Webinars or online seminars are an amazing way, in fact, probably in my opinion, the #1 way that you can quickly build a relationship with people in a live setting. It can be used for training purposes, maybe for demonstration purposes of different products that you might be showing off, and it could also be used to sell things. Selling something after a really well-done webinar is so much easier than having a person have to go through a bunch of emails or anything like that. It can really speed up the process for sales. And it could also grow your email list too. There are so many reasons why you'd want to get involved with webinars. Stick around in this video because I'm going to share with you a number of different tips to help you get started. From me, somebody who was very reluctant to do them at first, now that I've had my hand and have done hundreds of them, I gotta say, should have done it sooner. So I don't want you to make the same mistake as me and wait, and I'll give you the best advice to help you get started on the right foot. Now, like I said, I was very reluctant to start doing webinars. Part of the reason was because I was just too afraid to be on a live setting like that. I had preferred to create podcast episodes and write blog posts that I could edit and manage ahead of time and then put them out into the world in a more perfect-like manner. Live on a webinar, that's kind of scary because you're in front of people. But when you do it right and realize that it's just simply a presentation, then it actually becomes a lot easier, and you start to realize these results coming in are well worth the effort of getting involved and getting in front of people like this. Another reservation I had was with relation to the technology, because back when I started thinking about doing webinars, there wasn't as many offers as there are today for tools that can make it so much easier for us to get in front of a crowd. And yeah, the technology can be a little bit scary, especially compared to just writing a blog post or filming a video even, but it's actually a lot now more easier than ever, and I'm gonna give you some tools on the tail end of this video to help you get started. The other thing I was worried about was just like, well, what am I gonna say? This is live, and like, how can I teach for a whole hour? Well, when you answer people's questions and you know that you're training on a topic that people are interested in, it actually becomes very, very simple because all the information that you need to provide is based on all the information that people are expecting and wanting to receive. So picking a webinar topic is gonna be very, very important. Now, the big question is, well, how do we get people to come to the webinar and watch? Well, registration can happen in various kinds of ways. Obviously, you can set up a registration page where people can put their name and email to then get reminders about when that webinar is going to happen. You can also send emails to your existing list and have people click what's called a one-click registration to have people just already be automatically put into that list so that they can get those reminders too. You could share information on social media to bring people to those landing pages. You can share blog posts, podcast episodes, whatever you have access to sell or let people know about anything, you can also use to help people register into the webinar. The other cool thing about a webinar is you don't have to do it alone. And if you happen to do it with a partner or with a JV, joint venture partnership of some kind, you can actually both promote those things to each other's platforms. And the cool thing is if you're doing that in conjunction with somebody else, that can also help grow both of your email lists at the same time too. The most important thing when it comes to the registration is that you make it very clear on that landing page or wherever you send the messages about what people are gonna learn and what they're gonna walk away with. That's probably the most important thing. That's the transformation that you are offering. Because remember, this is a little bit of time that people are investing in you. Whether you end up selling or pitching on this webinar or not, it's time that people are taking out of their day to come and see you live so that they can learn something. And then from there, you can take them into the next steps. Now, how might you host these webinars? Where do you actually start to begin the process of putting this together? Well, there are a lot of people who might use something like Zoom, and there is in fact webinars on Zoom, and that can work. However, if you are gonna be selling especially, there's some really amazing platforms that you can use, such as Demio, D-E-M-I-O. In fact, I'm an affiliate for the company if you wanna check them out, smartpassiveincome.com/Demio. The beauty of this is the access to certain analytics, retention rates, as well as the ability to connect and integrate with your email list so that you can do more marketing before and after the webinar. It's a really powerful platform. Again, smartpassiveincome.com/Demio. Now, I have a lot of information about what you should be putting in your webinar specifically, but I'm just gonna give you a quick rundown. Typically, you'll wanna welcome people in and give them a little introduction for the first 5 minutes because there might be some people who might be coming in late. Then you wanna let people know what's coming. You need to kind of resell why people are there so that they'll stick around to the end. And then finally, any housekeeping items related to how they can interact with you, engage with you, that's really important because that's a cool thing about live. You can actually engage and interact with the people who are there live watching with you. And any information about perhaps any upcoming offers or other things should be mentioned up front too, just to kind of, ease the pain of pitching sometimes, which I know is often a big struggle for some people too. Now, the cool thing about webinars is that although it is a one-time event often, you can do them many times over again, but you can actually use the recordings of these things. Typically after a webinar, you might wanna share with your audience a replay. So a link to a place where they can go and replay that recording. Whether that stays up forever and it becomes a lead magnet that you can use to grow your email list, or something that then goes away by a certain time because there's a cart and an offer and some bonuses perhaps that go away. Webinar replays are hugely advantageous because it's something that you did once that you can use over and over and over again. And yes, you can use those replays to continue to sell over and over again. In fact, if you have a webinar that is something that's structured in an evergreen type fashion, something that you can actually put into an email sequence so that after people subscribe to your email list, they see this webinar, it was pre-recorded, but it's there and it can actually continue to make sales for you over time, which is pretty cool. Some important things to know about webinars are this. You're not gonna have everybody who registers show up. In fact, a 20 to 25% show up rate based on the number of people who have registered and the number of people who actually show up is actually pretty good. That's pretty standard when it comes to it. There are things you can do like send additional reminder emails, continually sell the moments that you're about to share with them on the webinar with them beforehand so that they'll come and make sure to not miss it. You want them to feel like they might be missing out on something if they don't show up. That's really important. And then after the webinar, the follow-up process is really key. That is the replay link that you send out and all the information that you send in there too. I'm not gonna go into pitching right now. We have a lot more information about that to help you learn how to pitch on a webinar too, but it is something that is possible and it can be done in a really, really graceful manner. As I often say, you can sell and serve at the same time. After hundreds of webinars, the biggest lesson here is this. You're not gonna get better if you just sit back and worry and not do it. You have to get through the disasters to become the masters. So schedule your first one, maybe do it for a small group of fans or a small group of people, just so you can get that experience, test it out and experiment, because truly it is an amazing way to connect with your audience. And if you want more information about connecting with people on a webinar, how to get more webinar registrants, how to sell on your webinar and more, there's gonna be more information below this video to help you take that even further. So good luck to you. Webinars for the win. Good luck.